All right, so this video is taking a look at creating a new team meeting notice for our students. This video kind of assumes that you already know how to sign into DPRS. It assumes that you know how to kind of navigate around, and if not, there are some previous videos that talk about that. But you can see I've navigated to my demo students record, and by default, because I'm the special education manager, it shows up on the special education page of the students records. If you ended up someplace else, you can always click on special ed in order to get to this page. What I'm looking at right now is all of the students' active documents. You can see that active shown is selected. And I'm going to go and take a look at creating a new special ed meeting notice for a meeting that we'll be having in the future here. Now I could, with most documents, you can copy an old document to create the new one. But there's so little information that carries over from a previous meeting notice that I don't see any reason that we would do that. Instead, I'm just going to click on Create New Special Ed Meeting Notice. Now, with most DPRS documents, you get this initial page here where you can enter the initial notice dates. By default, it shows up as today's dates. But if you knew that you weren't going to be sending this out until tomorrow, you can always change that to another date. Go ahead and submit this. Once you submit, you can see that it brings you to a new page. This is the very first page, the meeting notice page of the meeting notice. And as with all of DPRS documents, the menu bar has changed a bit. About a little bit more than halfway down here, you can see here's the title of the document I'm working on. And then just down below that is the pieces that I need to finish before I go to check completeness and finalize this. All right, so we're going to say that my meeting date is in the future here. You can add dates by typing them in by hand, or you can always use this calendar feature here by clicking on that and choose your date from that calendar feature. The time, I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 o'clock. Now, DPRS is pretty smart. If I just put in the number 1 here, it knows that I'm not talking about 1 in the morning. I'll just put the number 1 in there, and I'll move down, and it automatically filled in the rest of that, 1 p.m. Now, whenever you're working on a document in DPRS, all of the fields that are in red are technologically required. DPRS will not let you pass completeness until you have those all filled in. Fields that have a black heading are not required. I'm going to go ahead and put that in anyways. By default, this child's school and address of the school and city and state of the school and zip of the school will fill in. And by default, the case manager's name, position, and phone number will fill in. If you want to make changes to any of this information here for the case manager, you could always go to your My Profile to make those changes. All right, for now we're going to submit this. And whenever you submit something, you'll get a message up across the top letting you know whether or not you were successful at it. If I had left one of these fields blank, it would fill in this information that I put in here, and it will save that, but it'll let me know if there's a required field missing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back in there. Now, with all documents, what you've done with this first page, you just go over here to the blue media bar on the left and just navigate your way through the other pages. I'm going to go to meeting purposes next. On this page, the only thing you have to be careful of is if you're going to be doing anything with an IEP or an IFSP, make sure you choose a selection that talks about creating a new IEP or reviewing an IEP or IFSP. If I were having a transition meeting at the end of the year, and I put transition in here, because this does not reference an IEP at all, it will not let me use this meeting notice as part of an IEP. So, even though it's a transition meeting, I'll also be reviewing the child's IEP or IFSP and revising it as needed. Once you choose the options there, you can go ahead and click on Submit. And then you can move down to the next piece, which is meeting attendees. Again, this is my demo students, so you see some kind of goofy demo information in here. But by default, anybody who's listed as a legal guardian on the student guardians page will pull in here as part of the meeting attendees. I'm going to go ahead and delete the dog here. Don't move the dog around. If I wanted to invite the student to their own IEP meeting because they are of the right age to do that, you can click on Invite Student or Include Student. The student's name comes in. I'm going to include myself by clicking on Include Case Manager. Inviting students' teachers will allow you to pull in any of the students' teachers who the student is enrolled in one of their classes. So this would not be, you would not be able to find like the student's resource room elementary special education teacher within this list because they're not on the child's or on the staff member's class roster. So click on here, we'll see if our demo student actually does have a teacher here. We'll go ahead and grab that teacher in and submit. And we're going to invite some other staff from our district as well. Click on Invite Other Staff. I'm going to invite in Sherry Peterson. And she actually has rights to work at any school. So it doesn't matter what school I choose there. I'll put a check mark next to her name and submit. It'll pull her name in. I'm going to invite some other staff here. Let's say that Mary Clarkson's going to be coming as well. We'll go ahead and invite an OT or PT here. OT. And maybe a speech pathologist. So that is how you would add in the other service providers using that Invite Other Staff. The Add Other Attendee is whenever you can't find an adult that you want to invite to the meeting. So sometimes you really struggle with inviting other staff. One suggestion I have is when you invite other staff is maybe blank out this school. Maybe they just don't have rights to that one school, but they might have rights to other schools. But if I want to invite an outside social worker, or maybe I'm just struggling to find our staff within these choices here, you can always go to Add Other Attendee. So I'll add in Susie, social worker from Urban County. Making sure that I fill in all the items that are in red. You'll also have to come back and choose position and roles, but we can't do that right now. I'll go ahead and click on Submit here. It brings me back to this page thinking that I may want to add somebody else in. In this case, I don't, so I'm going to cancel. And so now here's the list of people that I'm going to have attending. Now the other thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I have identified who's serving critical roles at the meeting. That's where this position roles field comes in. Not everyone needs to have this filled in, but you do need to have all the crucial roles considered. So for dad and mom demo, father and mother, I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit and note that they are serving as the parent or guardian. Now some of these choices are more intuitive than others. You know, had I left this blank, chances are we probably could have figured out that they were serving as a parent or guardian. But some of these others aren't quite as intuitive. Sure, you're the case manager right now, but in years in the future, you may not know that you serve as the case manager for the student, or other folks may not know. So I'm going to go in here and choose that I am the case manager, and I'm also the professional license in the area of disability. Sherry Peterson, we're going to go and edit. She'll be serving as our administrator. Now for K-12, the required positions are these top 5 here. For early childhood, if there is not a general education teacher, then obviously you would not have a general education teacher, but you would need to have a service coordinator. The only thing I don't have marked right now is the classroom teacher. You can also see here that as I'm editing, I can go in and edit any of this information that I need to. All right, so now since this is a K-12 student, I have everyone I need coming. And so I'm all done with this page. So I've made my way through the 3 required pages. and I'm ready to check completeness in order to make this final. Click on check completeness, and you can see I got a red check mark for all 4 of my areas. Now you have to be careful because the check completeness cannot necessarily check every single possible legal thing that you might do wrong. So don't assume just because you check completeness that everything's okay. You also have to think while you're filling out these documents, and you have to use your due process knowledge in order to make sure you meet the legal requirements. DPRS is only able to check on a few technology pieces to make sure that you have certain blanks filled in. It may not be the right information. So check completeness is not the be-all, end-all for correct documentation. If you do have red check marks for all here, that means that you met the technological requirements, and you can go ahead and click on Make Final. Now you can see I have my new meeting notice here. It's in final mode. If I want to print it, I would click on a little piece of paper with a magnifying glass, which will pull it up as a PDF. It'll have a cover page that you can sign there, and it'll have the actual information. So if you wanted to send it out to parents, you can print that off and send it out to parents. You could also print it off and send it out to staff. There's also another way to get this information out to people, and that is by emailing this information out. You can use this email feature here. Click on the word email for that meeting notice, and a new window will pop up and ask who all we want to email. Now, if we have their email address already within one of our other data systems, the email address will show up here. So I can go ahead and put check marks next to some of these. If it doesn't have their email address, you can always add that in. Now you want to be careful that you get this email address correct, because with all the billions of email addresses out there, if I miss something, and maybe if I put the M in there, that's definitely not going to Dad Demo, but it may be going to someone who now would have a bit of information about Julian Demo, the special education student, which of course is a data privacy issue. So my recommendation to you is at the beginning of the school year, collect all your parents' email addresses, put them into a Word document so you have a permanent record of those, and email all the parents at the beginning of the school year something real sort of vague, something that doesn't identify their student as being special ed. So email them something saying, Dear Dad Demo, this is your child's teacher. I'm writing to make sure that we have an electronic connection so that way I can email you more pertinent information throughout the school year. If they reply back and say they are the child's parents, then you know that email address is good and you can keep using it for the rest of the school year. You could also email other people who may not be invited to the meeting. So for instance, if you had a principal who was real concerned with when you're having meetings and things like that, you could always put that person's email address in here even though they weren't invited to the meeting. The email subject automatically populates. Meeting notice for JB. In our districts, we do not put kids' names in email subject lines. It's just too easy to see that. We put their initials instead. In the email body, it'll have some information about the meeting. And then within the email itself, you'll actually see the PDF copy of the entire document. Right, I'm going to uncheck these folks so they don't get confused by this. And just send it to myself here. So once you're done filling it out, you can go ahead and click on Submit. And you'll get a green message saying email has been successfully sent. And now I can close this window. Another nice thing about the email feature is it keeps record of who you all sent an email to. I just got the email. So here's the email that shows up in my inbox. There's a subject line. Here's the general text. And then here's the actual PDF of the meeting that I can pull up. And you'd see exactly what you'd see had you mailed this to them by hand. All right. A couple more pieces before we leave special ed meeting notices, and that is the follow-up page. You click on the follow-up page. One piece of follow-up you can do is you can print the sign-in sheet. I'll go ahead and click on that. That pulls for the sign-in sheet that I bring to the meeting. Everyone is expected to sign here. Folks that are not able to attend and are excused by the parent or guardian, you would put a check mark next to their name, and then you'd have the parents sign or initial over here in the signature parts. So that way folks know that the parents knew that that person was excused by the parent or guardian. Another thing you can do on this page is you can check the notifications. You can see that Bill Underwood was emailed, and here's the date that I was emailed. So that serves as a nice backup if you use that email method of contacting people. You can always add your own notification records if you'd like. It's not a requirement for our district. Let's go back to this page here. And the final thing that you do on the follow-up page is you go in and you mark who attended and who did not attend the meeting. So after the meeting, I come through back here on the follow-up and mark off who all came to the meeting. And this will show up on the kid's actual IEP when I go to print that off. So check out who attended. If there's somebody excused, you can mark that off and then record attendance. And go back to my special ed document page. And so that is the ins and outs of a special ed meeting notice. Hopefully that helps. Take care and good luck.